Chilly here with Sirius, Dallas Moon. This is Jupiter, our Saturn night. And basically, um, Midheaven 22 Taurus, Ascendant 25 degrees Leo, Sol 8 degrees Libra. Sol is about to go Vendiamatrix, and I was thinking about the era of the Bolshevik Revolution, basically understanding that, remembering John D. Rockefeller wanted a not thinking people, and basically understanding that um, billions of people were fighting for what they thought was working for the motherland, and not usury, but were actually very likely working for John D. Rockefeller, being perhaps either uneducated and purposefully um, the wealth of nations. And I was thinking about that today after watching a video about the BRICS mineral change, and the fact that a lot of minerals are being discovered at this time. And this makes for, and together with the fact that there is a desire to base the currency on gold again, the Bitcoin attempts to digitalize everything, but people are going for the gold standard, which is going to be a situation where people like that would be the good time. um, People would say that would be the good time to buy gold, but if your gold is sitting in a bank, basically the bank can close tomorrow, and it can close randomly. It could close for some sort of an emergency case. It could close because there was a mass shooting next to the bank, and now the bank, you know in Israel, for example, you have to set a date with your bank to sometimes weeks ahead, just to have a question, just to have a service that you wouldn't otherwise digitally do, or withdraw cash through okay, through the bank and so on. Any change that you have to physically be at the bank for, you have to sit 2 3, even people that are receiving mail, which is causing a lot of problems in deliveries. Um, but when you have, let's say, gold sitting, somewhere, then all they really need to do is like do mass shooting and the place is closed for a while. Do they don't even need to rob the place, and when they want it to be closed, then it will be. Um, and the best suggestion is for people to have the metals and the gold on them, and that usually comes in forms of jewelry. So this is the thing. It's becoming a time where the people have to rely on the people, and the people that will do, and here's the thing. I woke up this hour because there were dumbfuckery curses, um, and wherever anybody lives, that they have people that are trying to attack their sanity, their life, their creative abilities, their housing. Basically, such a place is susceptible to be invaded. Such society is susceptible to be persecuted, which is what I talked about the Masons. Um, I uploaded another video, I think, talking about silver, talking about gold. Um, this is where this is where people really need to understand, because the first thing that I asked, because those are like the secret societies, but they also are like religions and stuff. And the only way that got to me, other than academia actually, and was to trying to get to a person that I was living with, um, and that is basically prompts the question: do the people that want everybody to pay for the water want to get killed over a cup of water? Because because those are the times. Do the people, you know, the people that want to take advantage of such times for all types of personal revenges often forget that 99% of what people think they want to revenge someone um, is either a misunderstanding or there's a bigger problem. And if they are entrenched in such cults, the best use of that would be to betray the cult, because but then when it comes to programming, that would be the time to um, let's just say if the programming says, because I went to attempts to program me, basically that was what the torture was about, and I began to attack the torturers and attack the program. Um, I would say that to MK Ultra, that's to MK often, may all those who target individuals be assassinated, and all those things. And if anything tries to curse me, so that to those who are the original source of why they try to even curse me, which naturally is not me, because I have divine right to be. And in that way, basically divert the aggression towards actually asserting our individuality. So whenever that is possible, I know that the people that got out of satanic abuse, even out of those horrid things, they were the people that did just that. Okay, that they weren't going into the division tactic and attacking their loved ones or their siblings, or you know or people they have beef with, because it's basically just witchcraft, and it's not the witch and the warlock. It's an entire society. Um, this basically taken advantage of to try to make it even more stupid, even more grudgy, because that's how the devil makes his monthly income. Okay, and some people turn to God, but they have to understand that child abuse happens also within those supposedly godly things. Even with targeted individuals, naturally, whenever we would say something, that there would be people who try to imitate that, um, but that so that we would not support, or so that we would not feed the homeless, um, or so that we would not, provide welfare where welfare is provided, or charity where charity is provided. Then that really assists those who actually want to take on giant scopes of land. Because if they can get people to traffic each other, if they can get people to rape each other, if they can get people to kill each other over a cup of water, then they gain from that. Second World War, Pluto was applying to trine Aries, and people survived by becoming chaotic. I saw that when I was in between houses. I was doing channeling experiment, And that was pretty much the channeling. But then I took my power back because I'm like, hey, I don't want to live in that sort of world. Um, and began to attack the program basically when I did. I wasn't even aware of that because as I was doing a channeling experiment, there were things that were trying to go on the radar, and at first I was like trying to. Oh, I didn't know what it was. I was trying to refine or optimize um, basically the channeling, and I was in between houses at the time. And channeling itself was a way of taking my power back. Um, so, for example, one of the channeling wanted me to um, be kind of Machiavellian in my social media strategy, and I was like, no, no. um, and so, but when there are things that we are not aware of, like the hand gestures or the squinting eye is associated with Illuminati, and I had no idea. A lot of pictures with squinting eye, or pictures of me hiding panda with the squinting eye, one eye covered. That was a part of, a humiliation ritual done to celebrate on the fact that I don't know the hidden signs of those secret societies and present as though I am one of the secret societies. So it's done to a lot of people, um, which is why I say, raise awareness. You see, somebody asked me about the squinting eye. It's like, why do you have all this symbolism? And I'm really thankful for them, because I said to me it means something else. To me, the blinking eye was better per se. So, um, and indeed, the unexpected outcome was that I blessed the real estate with not having any trafficking in that real estate. Um, and I still do. And yes, and that is something that, if it was present in the previous real estate, and this one, it's even more present, because this is kind of like a humble dwelling. Um, but that is, yeah, that is something that can happen to a lot of people. So ask the question. You see somebody, or you see a friend, or you see somebody suddenly doing those weird hand gestures and so on, particularly if it's like a person that had been kind of not secluded from society, but their circles weren't the circles of the cult, let's just say, then confront them, ask them, and I can bring the attention that something's going on, that they weren't inviting or that they weren't intending to, um, in that regard. Because for me, it was very, I'm a secular person. I would celebrate all religions, and then that kind of looks to people like it's masonry, and I didn't know about the ritual abuse, so it was very easy to. And then when a person is in between houses, then this is basically what they would try to do. But I wasn't recruiting. I never consented. I don't consent. I didn't consent to do anything other than steal food from the Alberghein when there was no food in the shelter. and that's and steal food for myself. So I wasn't doing anything industrial in that regard. I wasn't making a business out of that, and I even didn't like stealing food that much. Even when it was sushi, I preferred my peace and being a tourist. So people that have addiction to the excitement might be more caught up with those things. particularly if they think they're making a revolution. Because I wanted to see, the money line. I wanted to see me in peace, happy, thriving. Okay, not causing chaos or thriving on chaos all the time. And that thing or energy that was trying to call me into that chaos, I was like, hey, well, the chaos needs to be done favorably. So when I was in one room with three people and we all snore and then chaos ensued and each person got their own room, then that was worthy chaos. That was improving upon the situation. Um, but when I'm in a dwelling and there are neighbors and stuff like that, then I wouldn't like I don't seek that type of behavior or that type of chaos. Um, but I didn't need to. Just me peacefully digging up half moons probably triggered an entire cult's lineage because there probably are bodies in the backyard, or rituals that were done. Like I was just regenerating a plot of land. Um, so and by the way, there was also if the channeling is good, I'll listen. If the channeling is not good, I won't listen. Then and Uranus was crossing my sun, so I was just working with Uranus. So more things that I can think of. Yeah, if those rituals were done on people in like the Bolshevik times, then the Bolshevism was supposed to be people going against oligarchy, but I think it eventually was people enabling Rockefeller because they were and we see a lot of people rebelling right now because money went missing, and money went missing is exactly that: the bonds, the debts, the stocks. While the reduction of the dollar is done to basically reduce the national debt. As we see in the dollar de-dollarized, and Saturn Neptune is just those type of things. Um, so I guess getting educated about, you know, where are the minerals, then we see where are the wars, where are the resources, and understanding that our sovereignty, whether it's communistic or whatnot, our sovereignty matters. Our owning metals and minerals, not in a bank, not in an enclosed space, that matters. But then if people cooperate with the mafiosi and try to get at their neighbor, get at the this, get at their that, those are not the people that are going to benefit. If people try to create the chaos to benefit from this, benefit from that, eventually they're being persecuted, and that no amount of this anti-Semitism would work for the people that did partake in creating that chaos and profiting off of that. But we also have to consider when it is the times that those people were simply not oligarchs, and they were trying to get at the Gilded Age through chaos, because but then they will have big problems with, if they violate the sexual sovereignty, they will have big problems. Think about it. There's Mars and there is Venus, and Venus is always to the opposite sign of Mars, and now Venus is opposite to the opposite sign to Aries. So being included, even when one doesn't know the etiquette, is important. But sexual boundary violation, basically women's sexual boundaries have been way more disincluded than any group in society. And also boys' sexual boundaries. So that's been way more disincluded than any group in society and in the world. And this is why we'll later see a feminist revolution. And we saw that when Uranus went with Aries, it was not just, the world rebelled, and now we see the Gen Zers rebel here, rebel there, from Asia to Africa, France. Okay, and then they're called the Jay-Z revolutions. France is not unusual, but the rest of the countries is the Gen Z revolutions. But even Gen Z has to keep in mind sexual sovereignty has been way more disincluded, and that's why when Uranus struck Aries, we saw the Me Too. Because the underdog is for a woman to have her yes, no, and maybe respected. No amount of, well, in that society, they didn't know about it. They had centuries. They had 12 millennia. If we're going to go Sedna, they had 12 millennia not to sell their daughters to trafficking to get some more Masonic powers. Because all these people, they're not the refugees that didn't have money to buy a ticket. They're the people that had the money and the connections to go to another country. They're not that poor. They're not that underdog. This is why everybody goes watermelon, but nobody talks about Congo. It's like, oh, Congo is a civil war that charged the lives of above 10 million people. This is bad then the Holocaust. And and that is just the truth. That is just the fact. Um, what happened in Gaza is important. It took 2 years to pay attention to that because they wanted to make sure they clear their real estate first, and draw the gas and oils from the Dead Sea or whatever in the worst possible methods to create even more problems, to make sure that people won't live around. So for the people that were dreaming about a mansion in Gaza or invested in oil, nobody's gonna want that oil. This is an industrial revolution. There we have planes, ships, cargoes, trucks, houses, industries powered by solar energies, rejuvenating energies. No, like no, they're digging up the earth over nothing. Nobody's gonna, nobody's gonna want to buy that oil, and they're trying to do the same old for a time and an era where, and then they try to force people to pay for things that are free. They're just wanting to create pollution so that people will pay for the water. And the people that support this really have to think for themselves. Do they want to get killed over a cup of water? And of course I bark when I say that. Solar plexus, solar energy, solar plexus, sovereignty. Um, so, do they want to get killed over a cup of water? The people that support these things, because there's enough of them to rebel that. It's different, and they have to remember, women rights have been way more. They're capitalizing on Aries wealth. Women rights have been way more disincluded, way more underdoggy. This is why they say women that make history are not well behaved. That That guy coming from a rural village because he was participating in Mason rights of the elite is not an underdog. His wife's rights to not be raped, that's the underdog. That's Aries. It's a 500 cycle. We go 500 years ago. What's the most underdog of underdog? Sexual sovereignty, child sovereignty, boys' sovereignty as well. Now, people have been entangled in all kind of dumb fuckery, but they've been entangled for 12 millennia. It's time to untangle from their lineages of raping boys, raping girls, and so on, trafficking, and so on. Humiliation rights, and so on. That's the underdog of underdogs. And this is why, talked about the problem with the Mason, this is why at this time they're being persecuted. It's not about being uncivilized. And it's always under the guise, they didn't know, they didn't this, they didn't that. They were participating in rituals with the elite, and that's how they got to, cross the border. Leaving behind women, children. So, and where anything, when it leaves sexual sovereignty, it starts serving another master. And this is how people made the Bolshevik Revolution, then began to work for the motherland, supposedly. And they were working for another master. They were working for Rockefeller. Not even the oligarchy. They were working for, like, they dropped the oligarchy, fantastic. But then now they were working for Rockefeller, thinking they're working for the motherland. And then there were pogroms. Why there were pogroms? Because the people were still trying to find who is who, and who wanted people to be stupid. Rockefeller. We wanted schools not for thinking people, but for working people. And the people that didn't have access to education, we can't blame them for being people. We can't blame them for selling their freedom for bread, and they were working for the motherland. A normal family that would do anything to feed its children, to give them the best education, such a family is not thinking in terms of, sell your neighbor to the I don't know what. To That's something that only came with the Soviets. There was feudalist society, and there was human sacrifice in feudalist societies that made people susceptible. Now, those people really didn't know about the yes, no, and maybe, about the this, about the that. They would get drunk, beat the wife. Then the women would hit them with a pen. But the women would also hit the boys with the shoe, the home shoe, and the belt, and so on. that that was education. So in that regard, you could say that, hey, learning how to communicate um, is kind of important. But the people that are coming from those societies to, let's say, Western Europe, they are the people that made some money. And you can't make some money without being at least a little bit international. They're the people that know that that know at least how does the mask of looking and mingling with another society looks like. So they know that if they are raping somebody, they know that they shouldn't be doing that. And they can't hide under being an underdog. Not in the face of these values. And this is what happened. There was the Great War, there were suffragists, there was the wave of feminism, and then they said the Me Too went too far. Then there was a Second World War, and then women got rights. So that basically was like, do we really have to go through the Bolshevik War? Like, do we really have to have so many generations of men dead? And then what happens? In Soviet Russia, there's like mostly women, and they're giving their longing to the leader. The husband gets drunk, beats the wife, she beats him with a pen. If the leader sends him to war, okay. That's according to Elvira. I have not an insider information. Um, but this is what happened. A lot of men died and women. But that to begin with is because the men were not menning. They were doing something that weird to boys, and I'm not talking about gay men. I'm talking about straight men. Okay, like gay men is not a problem. It's just like they don't have problems with women. They're into men. They put their frustrations on men. It's nothing to do with women. The problem is not with gay men. It's with straight men. If there are gay men, I heard that I had in university I had a colleague that was lesbian girl, and she talked about gay men gathering against women. I mean, the Masons. And gay, and I'm like, why? Well, they're trying to, I guess, appease man interest, and then they get raped. Like, the boys get raped and so on. The boys is not their fault that they get raped, but with those things that are like attacking women, what did you think will happen? If they were supporting rape, then when you support, when people support oppression, there's always going to be a more oppressive. That's how Genghis Khan won over the world, because it's like, if he had to kill his half brother so that he would not rape his biological mother, because in his societies that was a possibility, then the entire world can go boom. And then that what happened. And he tried to make world peace the best he could with his MK Ultra type of techniques to do that. And this is indeed the challenge with Aries. Um, they didn't skip women, okay, and that's important. But but here's the thing: men were doing that to themselves anyway. And that perhaps has awakened them that they have rights. I'm like, fantastic. Women are not oppressing your rights. The rights that you do are oppressing your rights, because those are the folks that violate your sexual sovereignty way before you even encounter a woman. Now, that is of course a triggering topic to talk about. And look, I haven't even touched the topic of ritual abuse, which is even more triggering. But with ritual abuse, it's kind of like it's obvious that those things are done as wealth consolidation. So, is the best to divert the energy is to hold that wealth consolidation agents or families in the name of which it's done accountable. Is holding accountable the individuals that do that, but more importantly, to go up the class to the people that actually consolidate their wealth on that. Um, Especially when it comes to litigation. It was actually in a feminist group, and there was a lady that was humiliated by another lady. She met at the end of the workday. She met her boyfriend, and the other lady was calling her a whore for for meeting her boyfriend, and she thought she was a working lady. I don't know, but it doesn't matter. It's kind of like, why call her a whore? Why not go to her, ask her if she needs something, if she's safe, if whatnot. Um, when I was working lady here, I gave her a talisman, and that is um, that is basically. But the thing is that this lady wanted to litigate the other lady, and she was questioning on how to do that and so on. I was like, listen, do you want to have a victory? In Hebrew we say fakatza. It's like a Karen but degraded. Do you want to have a victory over a fakatza, and thereby supporting, they're going to be a list of male lawyers that are going to line up, give me that money. Or do you want an actual change? Because the reason that woman would call her a whore has to do with the feminization, humiliation rights of men rights. Not men rights, but men rights. Masons, okay? And that has to do with the wealth consolidation that funds them. So, you now let's see these lawyers line up to litigate those guys. Um, because that's the reason it's happening. Think about it. A woman sees something that she thinks is a working lady meeting a man, bashing her about being disrespectful. Like, lady, you could drive to your work, have a car accident, be drugged at a hospital, forcibly put on heroin, and then that's how they get people to do working ladies. I was in between houses for a significant amount of time. My life was at risk and so on. And as much as it was for my choice, then I said, I'd trade weapon. I'd kill people. It's saner because at least they don't suffer. I don't trade weapon. Yes, yes. The most weapon I have is my humble stupidity. It's an incredibly ignorance is an incredibly potent uh, power. Um, but even nuclear power, uh, because the way they press the nuclear, they never know if it's going to be if it's a drill or not. So they're just getting used to press the red button. That's how MK Ultra works. It's it was a guy that exposed the CIA and how the atomic veterans, basically, not the atomic veterans, the people that sit by the atomic labs, and they every once in a while they get the command, press a button, they press a button. That's basically. Maybe it's a drill, maybe it's not. They wouldn't know also, because they sit there, you know. Now you think about all the nervous system hacking that's being done. Some guy being trained to be, being groomed to be an Epstein or a handler or whatnot or a puppeteer. They're like, press a button, boom. All he has to do is cause them to press the right buttons. Um, if a nuclear holocaust is going to happen, it's going to be beyond funny, but there probably are not going to be people to celebrate that. And that's the thing. They want to get people to obey orders, and then say we were only obeying orders. Um, yeah, I'm gonna have to tend to that